And when we're tied down to a job, we don't have any fun anymore, and we urge for that release. But that release is never found. Many people search for alcohol, for drugs, for sex, and other things. Search for vices in order for them to relieve that aching pressure that I'm not good enough and I didn't do anything in life. It's either a creative process or it's a destructive process. Or it's a self-sabotage process. And it's in that we are defined by who we are. And we are defined by that journey. And it's through these stories that go on. And they help us develop better as people, and they help us develop who we are. Now, I know I might be going on a rant by talking about this. Just warning you, I'm going without a script. I'm just speaking off of what's on my mind. But rest assured, I will finish and wrap this up by something deep and talking about life's journey, life's purpose. Why is it all wrong, or what if we're living it right? And I'm gonna discuss a little bit about the feeling we get when we're living it right after the break.
Introduction. For as long as we can remember, we grew up in families. Whether it was to our natural parents, foster parents, or it was our aunts and uncles who raised us, we were born into a family and a pecking order. This was our position and standing in the family. Some of us have dealt with our parents first. Some of us had to cope with the fact that there was a smaller member of the family, and some of us dealt with the fact that we had to deal with older members of the family. They were our siblings. Through this time, we develop into people we want to be. We have an idea of the job we want in life, and we have an idea of who we want to marry. Quote, birth order is widely recognized in individual psychology as a determinant of personality. Ashby, Locierco, and Kenny, 2003, page 43. We develop our certain paths by learning from our parents and our siblings. Even singletons go through the growing up process developing traits. Eventually, we learn to interpret where we stand in the family. According to Campbell et al., quote, psychological birth order is generally defined as the way a person perceives and interprets his or her position in the family constellation. Ashley, Locierco, and Kenny, 2003, page 44. This is where we gradually formulate ideas, and we grow them into our own. Oftentimes, this leads to conflict within the ranking of birth order. The next section will discuss how birth order develops in people.
That was Birth Order, a clip from Birth Order, how roles of each sibling are placed at birth. It was written by Joseph Evaldi, narrated by Jonathan Anthony Young, and it is now available in audio in Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. Back at the program. I discussed why we are doing it all wrong. But I haven't really discussed why we're doing it right. Well, as many of you know, everything is denser. But it doesn't have to be that way. We are fighting each other for the different prejudices we have, and it affects us. That could be a purpose. We could be self-absorbed, and we could all be collectively working towards something. See, right now, many people my age and younger are facing dilemmas. Are facing dilemmas of economic status, social status, and every kind of status. We want to go in that workforce and change things. Now, perhaps I came in when the system wasn't changing. And some aspects, the type of job that I did, the system wasn't changing. Now there's a lot of things where you could do yourself. You could buy a microphone. You could buy a soundboard mixer, and you could do a podcast. Before, it wasn't like that. You had to go into a studio. You had to be hired to do a radio role. Now anybody could do it. Before, in the past, you had a newspaper. You had to be hired to be a writer. Now everybody could write a blog, and it's news. It all goes on social media, rather Twitter, Facebook, or even videos are going on YouTube and they're replacing the TV. It's a changed world. And young people, which were bombarded with all this, are trying to make their way into it, and they're trying to change it. But it's not easy. Many people don't want to let go of the old. And you have people like TV companies charging how much for advertising, yet the internet, it's only a little bit. The old world doesn't want to go away without a bang. And why am I adding this in this podcast about life purpose? Perhaps some of the old world was good. We remember, and going back with me, I remember for a short period of time that I had a black and white TV in my room. My TV went down and I needed a TV, so we had a backup black and white one. I remember when radio was interesting. I remember before I had a VCR, or when I had a VCR. Those things in the world before it changed. And I'm sure older generations know that too. But what does this have to do with life purpose? Well, every generation had found their niche. Every generation defined what their values were and how their values ended. One generation did this, the other generation did that, and then there was the greatest generation. Now the millennials. And I'm going to wrap up this podcast because I know I've gone far off topic, but it's more on topic. We have things that define us, things that make our generation great. We might feel that we are living on purpose, that we might not be living on purpose, or we might be living on purpose. We might feel that as an individual, we can't make a difference. But you know what? Maybe as one individual we can't. But as a collective whole we can. Now, I see similarities to what was going on back then. You had radical groups forming and everything else. But it wasn't just one person who stormed Normandy. It was a collective whole. Now, our difficulties are greater than ever before. With all the changes and all the everything. And I'm going to leave you with this final note in this podcast. And that is to make this world a better place. It's not going to just take one president. It's not going to take either Trump or Hillary or whoever's facing. We could have one boss with a movement, or we could collectively take action. And we could form that. Many people are. But it's up to the young generation to make that change. To band together. To band their resources together and to develop a new society. Not a new world. A new society. Which means new machines, new buildings, new everything. Changing the status quo. Because we don't want to be remembered for an old society as society is facing whatever it is. We want to be remembered for the society that changed things, that brought status back to the world.